What is up, lads and lasses? Back at it again, and today we're going to be reviewing the second trailer of Kuruluş Orhan. And right off the bat, we see this nice overhead view of, I'm guessing it's Bursa. No, I'm pretty sure it is Bursa. And that is incredible. I mean, we saw in Season 6, the CGI improved. Their art direction was definitely going upwards. So this is real nice. Nice little overlay. Now, this is the extent of how nice it gets, because this next shot here is just a shot of something we've seen a million times. This set, I'm pretty sure we've seen it at least 8 different occasions. It's not a new set. It is a set that they didn't show that many times. It wasn't as overused as like the Inegol interior, but it's not a new set, and that's something that kind of worries me a bit. You'll notice a recurring theme that there's a few like old sets that they didn't use that many times. You know, they were underused sets, but still, it's not brand new. I'll increase onto that point a little bit later. However, I do want to give them credit. Even though they're using old sets, and this is again another recurring theme, everything looks like it was more well put together. There was more effort into it, right? The actual elements, the components, the ornaments, the soldiers, the background, they actually paid attention to detail. And these little details, while you don't immediately notice it, you just subconsciously kind of augment your perspective of the actual viewing. So this is a recurring theme, which I'll point stuff out later. For example, immediately 2 things I want to point out here are, number 1, the Byzantine soldiers, their costumes, their weaponry, their shields. I mean, they look a lot better than that overused bright colored red and just the old costumes that they were using, right? They tried to mix it up in the past with the old Templar costumes, and then the really cheap looking new Byzantine costumes that they used in Kuruluş Orhan. But this right here, they're actually mixing in like high quality armor with, you know, the less expensive material. But no, you can see that they actually have gambesons on, and tunics, helmets, and the coifs and all that kind of stuff. Look at the new shields, and on top of that, the color grading. They actually put an effort in the color grading. So yeah, no, these little things, they augment the actual viewing experience and make things look better. And again, I'm going to point this out as I go. Here we get a shot of, I think, the B villain, the side villain right here. He looks pretty cool. He was a little goofy in the first trailer, but over here he's leading a garrison of troops. So next up we have the main villain. I've been duped before by Bozdak Productions. Every time I see a villain and he looks calm, cool, and collected, and I think he's going to be a challenge and he's going to be an actual adversary to Orhan, he ends up, after 2 or 3 episodes, doing that goofy, cartoony scream, Orhan, Usman, you know, like that kind of thing, the mustache twirling trope. But I hope they're different this time. I hope that's not what happens. I hope they subvert my expectations. I mean, this guy has some crazy top-tier armor on right now, so and obviously he has a really distinct look. This guy is definitely going to be, I think, a season-long villain, whereas that other guy is probably going to die like midway through the season. But look, everything's looking cool. I mean, they have actual dedicated side actors playing the background characters instead of dudes in masks. So they're not going all out with the budget, but you know, they're actually putting in a bit more effort. I'm not a big fan of this. This is just kind of like a trick where they lay out a bunch of you know, vanquished foes and weapons, and you know, just like they just basically create a battlefield, and then we just see like the end of the battle, so they don't have to actually film a battle scene. I mean, it's good sometimes. I think it's going to be good for what they're going to use it here. You know, they're probably going to have an important dialogue scene or some ramification of this battle. Again, we've seen stuff like this in the past, but notice the color grading, notice the attention to detail, notice how they're actually putting stuff in the foreground, the background, and they're using a very interesting kind of like over the hill bird's eye view angle. These creative like camera shots and angles, these little details, you know, these little details that kind of convey subliminally that they put effort and attention into every single scene. It really plays a part in the quality of the show. So you guys in the comments were right. That dude I kept asking who he was Orhan. This is a really cool shot. We have Osman Orhan ATV, so kind of the heirs of the Ottoman Empire with the founder, one of the founders. And man, I gotta say, I have so much admiration for the actor in the middle. This is the guy that played the original Kuruluş Osman actor, like I think it was like an 80s or 90s show. Y'all should definitely check out the first episode. There are a lot of amazing shots, and yeah, the costumes weren't that great, but it was really good for the time. Here he is, the OG, the GOAT. And then we get a shot of I'm assuming this is Holifera or somebody. Yeah, y'all correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that. A shot of Mert Olcu, or whatever his name is, as Orhan. This guy intrigues me because in some scenes he passes as a main character, right? Like as a young main character, like a viable young main character, and then in others he doesn't. He's interestingly dynamically photogenic in that it's like I wouldn't say he's distinctive. He's the opposite of distinctive, but not in the bad way. Like all different angles of him, he looks different in every different angle. It's kind of interesting. Now this is a pretty cool scene. Obviously this is at some headquarters. They're planning out an attack. I think this is just the Kai tribe, and these guys all seem to be very prominent characters. I will say the only thing that's kind of a hard sell for me is I'm not sure why this actor looks super young, right? Like he doesn't look old, grizzled, experienced enough to be leading all these veterans that you see right here, right? He doesn't have to be an old man in his like 40s or whatever, but there should be this sense of kind of, I don't know, this aura that kind of denotes to the viewer that, yeah, this is a guy who has been through the ringer, who's paid his dues and has the qualifications and experience to lead, like a tribe or a bunch of people into like battle. Right now that's just not really passing for me, but maybe when I watch the first episode I'll have different thoughts. Right here, very nice shot. I mean, we've seen this little headquarter camp thingy in the middle of the forest many times in season 5 and season 6 of Osman, but for some reason this kind of has a different breath of fresh air to it. Like you can tell, again, they've actually tried. They put in a lot more effort into actually displaying all these sets. Like there are, again, multiple sets that are being reused, but they look rehashed, revamped. So yeah, I like it. I'm a big fan of scenes that have big, large, vast backgrounds. I love when they film on set. Obviously they have a lot of scenes in these kind of congested forests, which are basically just small plots of land that they can dedicate to filming. And when you see that so much, you kind of feel like you're boxed up. But when you see this, you feel a sense of world building. You feel a sense of, hey, they're living in this big world, this expanding universe. So yeah, I like shots like this. I like sets like this. We need more of that. This right here is that kind of boxy, congested feeling that I was mentioning. I feel like a lot of the castle scenes throughout this entire franchise, they have always felt very boxy, especially like, for example, Inegol. Inegol was, I think, the best out of the bunch. But I feel like a good castle has like a little bit more of wide open, vast spaces, especially in a courtyard. But honestly, I'm just nitpicking. I mean, this looks really nice. This is Bursa though. Like my problem is that Bursa is supposed to be one of the greatest like castles that they ever conquer, and it just looks so small to me. So hopefully they kind of expand upon this set. This is just one section of the castle, right? That's in the show. Yeah, obviously this is just one section of the castle. So they need to do a better job of conveying through visuals the vastness of this castle. Okay, I can't really tell what's going on here. I think that's Osman with the two lords of Bursa. They might be negotiating. There might be some kind of negotiation that's gonna happen, but we'll see. Now this guy obviously is gonna be a very prominent character. Don't know what his role is gonna be, but he looks like he's a little wild. Looks like he's gonna shake things up. I think maybe the plot of this episode might be that Osman goes and tries to negotiate with those lords, and then they take him hostage or something, and then they have this war camp, and then the whole plan is to try to break him out. So let's see. There goes my boy Aladdin. This actor is loyal. This is my ride or die. This is the day one Aladdin actor. I'm so glad they kept him. Yeah, he definitely looks like he's gonna play a much bigger role this part of the show, and definitely gonna be using his intellect. That's something that they have to highlight. Another shot of Aktemur's clone, and in this shot, this guy is mad. I haven't seen the English subtitles, so I don't know what he's saying, but he seems to disagree with Orhan's plan or whatever the heck Orhan just told him. So yeah, the Byzantines definitely gotta upgrade not only to their costumes but also the color scheming. This guy looks pretty cool. I mean, he's gonna be the villain of this episode. Obviously, he's gonna be a one-shot villain. He's, you know, only gonna be in this episode, but I'm glad that they actually put in some effort to kind of distinguish this one-shot villain. It gives a good chance to kind of display Orhan's skill, tactics, battle, and fight. And then obviously you'll see in the next shot, this is that same beach where they fought Vasilius the Second or the Third. There's so many Vasiliuses in this franchise. Yeah, in season 4. So again, reusing kind of old sets, but that's okay because this looks like there's a lot more effort into it. So Aladdin in this part is talking to Osman. Good. Aladdin. So I think that they're really going to, you know, maybe they should have called the show Kuruluş Orhan Aladdin. I don't know. Maybe too long of a title, but I think this show is going to focus on the dichotomy of these two characters and how they have their own ways of leading or creating this dream of an empire and bringing it to reality. So it'll be interesting to see. It won't be a diversion. I think it'll be kind of like parallel, like two different, I guess, approaches, but they're following the same direction. So let's see. Now this shot is pretty cool. These two Alps by them, I don't see any distinct Alps. You know, like I don't see any side characters that we're gonna see grow with him. These guys look like mid-bot characters, but I mean, let's see. I might eat my words, but cool shot of them riding their horses in the rain. To the left here, that looks like a new Alp, but I think to the right, this is my goat, my boy Turhan. Might be Turhan. It might be Turhan. Okay, I don't know if that's Turhan or not. I hope it is. I just gotta find out why Osman is wearing a bandana. I gotta find out who did his do-rag. Like, what is bro doing? Now, if I'm not mistaken, this looks like it's Malhun. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not gonna be nitpicky about this. I mean, maybe they could have casted like a little bit of a taller actor to kind of maintain continuity, but it doesn't matter. Once again, we're establishing, all right, Aladdin and Orhan, they got their hatuns, all right? No more female chasing for like a whole season. Right? We're done with that chapter. They're just saying, hey guys, don't worry, we're not doing that again. My face when I realized they both had like 4 wives and we're gonna be going through 4 seasons, each season of them chasing a different wife. Holy. By the way, I'm joking. I don't think they both had 4 wives. Cherkutai Olmez, my boy Cherkutai and Boran, they're always there for the checks. They never miss a payday. Okay, nah, but for real, like, why does Osman look like he's 60 or 70? And then you have Cherkutai over here who never ages. I guess he never dies or ages. I guess he's like some magical, mystical being. He's probably part of their imaginations. Like, he probably doesn't exist. Like, that's gonna be like the plot twist at the end of the show. Cherkutai was just like a non-existent character. He looks like he's in his 40s. By the way, are they gonna show his kid? Is that one kid gonna be like an adult now? I hope. What's his name? Ahmedel? I really don't remember. What about his wife? Man. So many questions. This dude does not look content. I mean, bro looks like a Viking. Bro doesn't know what he is. I don't know what he is. Another shot of dude just confused, like contemplating. I don't know if that's confusion or contemplation. So this is pretty cool. I hope they don't overuse it like they did in Osman. Every other episode there was some kind of explosion. But I mean, yeah, this is pretty cool. Beautiful shot right here. Like I said, they are definitely putting in a lot more effort into every single scene. I could tell. Another just amazingly, vividly beautiful shot. Once again, another beautiful shot. Now, we have to wonder, like, storytelling-wise, like, You see that boat in the background. They're being intercepted at this beach. This has to mean something. They're probably going to intercept a fleet, either a fleet coming in or some shipments going out. One of the two. And we got to think about how that pertains to this current story. Nice little rain shot. I think our boy is going to probably need to get a hair transplant soon, though. Don't worry, I'll join you. So one thing I didn't like about, they showed us like a second or two of like action, and a lot of the shots looked like those quick cutting shots where, where they cheat. Basically, the actors and the cinematographers cheat quick, short little burst shots so that the actors don't have to do like 5 or 6 seconds of real choreography. So it's a little cheat method. And then, man, if this is disappointing because you can see in this shot, that one shot villain just he's obviously getting killed, stabbed in the back. Guys, for the life of me, like all I'm begging for, all I'm asking for is, I really hope I'm wrong. I really hope this is just for the hype, but I really hope there's actually real choreography. Like we want to set the precedent. We want to set the precedent that this guy is gonna give it his all, and he's gonna have real choreographed fight scenes. And I really, really hope that these two dudes actually have a real choreographed, at least like 30-second fight scene that has like actual tactics and mind games within the battle, right? So, yeah, I'm just really hoping for that. One thing that I like is that they're mixing up a lot of the sets, the environments, the times. If I think the last 2 seasons of Osman, when they would get lazy is when they would, all the shots, timings, settings, they were the same. Everything was done during daytime. But I like this. This actually gives you like a sense of, time is moving. And yeah, like there are some shots at night, some shots early in the morning, some shots in the afternoon, multiple different sets, different angles. So I like the mixture, the cinematography that they're playing. Remember guys, this is only the first episode, so they always put in a lot of effort the first episodes. You never know, like after the next 2 or 3 episodes, they just revert to the same old formulaic, boring old method, but I hope not. This had to have been one of the worst shots in the trailer, where they have just a couple of NPC bots doing the that 1-2 movement. That 1-2 sword fighting movement you see in the background? If you're really paying attention to the Alps and knights in the background, they'll be doing this like, there's like this 1, 2, 3, sometimes 4 sword parrying and clashing movement, and it's really there just to fill the background scenes, make it look like people are fighting. But why would they put this at the forefront? Why would they do that? That's a very worrying shot to me. Like, if they're trying to make a comeback from the abysmal failure of Kuruluş Orhan season 6, which was just riddled with like the lack of trying and just mistakes and just you could tell that they were winging it and coasting it. Why would they, this little detail? Yeah, you could just say, oh yeah, it was only like a half a second little clip. No. If they were like really kind of, they want to really ensure that they make a comeback, they would scrutinize every millisecond, every pixel on every frame of this trailer. So when I see this in the second trailer of the first episode, when they're trying to make a comeback, to me that's already worrying. But I don't know. I think I'm just a little, jaded from how many times they've burnt my expectations in the show. But maybe I'm wrong. We got the GOAT, Cihan, the original Kuruluş Orhan actor. I do like, he really does resemble Burak in my opinion. He resembles Burak, like in terms of facial structure, height, that radiating glare. And I really love how they pay homage to Kuruluş Orhan with this turban, the turban and the boar hat. So it's good. This is really nice. Cool little explosion scene. I wonder if this is in Bursa. If this is in Bursa, then I don't know. That wouldn't be good. Bursa should be like a target, a goal that they gradually over time start to reach. This is probably like a smaller castle in the vicinity, but cool little explosion scene right here. We do get a nice fight scene. I do like that they're incorporating a lot of like nice tight action. I do think this next clip is a longer clip of Orhan performing some actual like cool moves. Last but never least, one of my favorite characters, Boran Alp. I'm so glad they brought him back. And Boran is actually looking his age. Boran actually looks like he aged the same amount as Usman. And Boran, as usual, absolute GOAT. And this is the final shot of the trailer. Once again, this guy just kind of looks to me like an Actimur failed clone. I'm so sorry, guys. When I see this shot, I don't know what it is. He doesn't radiate main character aura to me. He doesn't radiate main character energy. He doesn't have that distinctive look. Again, that can always be overcome with fantastic acting, but not just acting. It has to be acting coupled with a real story. Now, I want to mention two things about the show and my expectations, okay? The first thing that I'm going to mention is the budget. We can see that they obviously reused a lot of sets. And I think the reason why they did that is because they are actively recovering from the same reason that Kuruluş Osman kind of was lacking in quality. And that is because Bozdak Film really strung themselves out with like 5 different projects going on at the same time. You know, Kuruluş Osman was their flagship show. But at the same time, they had this Jalaluddin show, which was actually pretty good. I would say it was pretty solid. They had some random show about, I don't know, some modern like gangster guy, which who cares about that. They also made it like a modern military show, and then I think a couple of like history shows that just didn't have like a lot of action at the forefront. So dude was doing like 4 or 5 shows, stringing the budget out, and then really like messing up with the quality of the show. Now I think what's happening is they've obviously stopped a lot of those extra efforts, and they could have put in that extra money, the extra revenue that's being kind of accumulated because they're not being spent on the shows into this first season. But I think what they're doing is they're holding back until season 2 so they can have a much more massive budget to be able to be really extravagant. Now in my opinion, I think they should have waited. I think they should have waited like 8 months, 6 to 8 months, and then started, you know, this new show. But maybe because of political pressures, media pressures, fan pressures, and also to keep their momentum going, they decided to do a quick 2-month turnaround, which that's gonna be kind of tough. But if you ask me, based on everything I've seen in this trailer doesn't do much to show me anything new to look forward to. But what it does do is it shows me that everything that they've had, they revamped and increased the quality of everything that they've had in the past. So they're doing everything they've done in the past, but instead of doing it at like an effort level of 4 or 5, they're doing it at an effort level of 10. I could tell, and that just shows us what Kuruluş Osman could have been. It could have been a lot better if they put in a lot more effort, and this is what we're gonna see. Now, the second thing I wanted to talk about is something that Kuruluş Osman kind of lacked. I think it was the lack of a deeper meaning, a deeper message behind the show. If you watch any fantastic movie or show, there's always a deep underlying message that the storytellers are trying to tell. Whether that be like breaking the cycle of hate, or the effect of ego on a man, or you know, just I think what Ertuğrul was it was multiple messages, but I think the biggest message was you know, the struggle against oppression through real justice, real and untainted justice. You know, one of the only shows that I've ever seen that actually portrayed that, right? A lot of shows will show their heroes become tainted as they grow in power, but that was not the case for Ertuğrul. And so that was that message. Now, I hope this show actually has something like that, and they need Bozdak, but they need Bozdak on the board. They need him on the court, in the paint, actually, you know what I mean, dribbling and catching rebounds and posting up layups and 2s and 3s, you know what I mean? Like, he needs to be the one actually there. He can't be like Steve Kerr, you know, out on the sidelines recruiting and, you know, managing. Nah, he needs to be up there, you know, being the point guard. He needs to be the point guard, all right? He needs to be the one actually writing, directing, producing. He needs to be there in the sets. We need him to actually be there, and I think we're seeing that. I think we're seeing that, and it's reflecting in just this these 2 trailers alone. So let's see, guys. Let's see if these guys can come back, make a big comeback. I have hope. I have some optimism. But yeah, thanks all. Peace.